Hello and welcome to today's featured webinar, Veeam Backup and Replication V11A and Veeam 1 V11A. My name's Rick Vanover. I'm on the product strategy team, and I'm joined by Billy Cashwell. How you doing?
Hey, pretty good, Rick. Thanks for having me today. Excited to be here and excited to talk about Veeam Backup and Replication and Veeam 1 V11A.
Yeah, indeed. It's a great topic. It's, the heart and soul of Veeam. And throughout this webinar, you can drop your questions into the Q&A panel on GoToWebinar. We'll do our best to get those responded to, but it's a big release, Billy. So what are we going to talk about here today first?
Well, it's a little bit of everything. So V11 was a really monumental release for Veeam, right? We expanded even more on what we could do with instant recovery. One of the main reasons customers choose Veeam to hit those recovery time and recovery point objectives. We've done even more with continuous data protection, or I should say, introduce continuous data protection. And we've done some NAS stuff. We did a whole bunch of things in V11, and we're expanding that even more in V11A. So as you can see here on the slide, Rick, we're expanding this to even greater platform support and really broadening our capability set to ensure that your data is protected no matter where it's located. And when we say no matter where it's located, that could be on premises, that could be in the cloud, that could be in a container, it could be all over the place. And again, Veeam is going to provide that protection where you need it, when you need it. We really took an extra deep dive into the cloud this round, pumping up our native and advanced protection for things like Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, and now Google Cloud Platform. So we're adding that strong. We're increasing our storage repositories with integration with Kasten K10, now by Veeam, or to have that direct integration to keep those Kubernetes backups from Kasten on Veeam backup and replication storage. And we talked about instant recovery. We're always expanding and looking to see how do we innovate and iterate on that recovery time objective and helping you to hit those goals with even more instant recovery now for Nutanix. So a lot of great stuff coming out, Rick. It's really hard to talk about it all in one sitting. There's a little bit for everybody across V11 and V11A. So Rick, one of the major things, like I mentioned, was diving into the cloud. I think in what you and your team does at product strategy here at Veeam, you probably hear about this quite a bit, right? What are some of the common things you hear, Rick, that's really driving folks' movement to the cloud and adoption of data protection in and to the cloud?
Well, Billy, you're right. There is no conversation that doesn't involve cloud or ransomware for that matter. And I've got a little trick up my sleeve later in this webinar in that regard. But you're right. It's always about the latest new services. It's about having visibility into the costs and also looking at different services, especially the storage services where we put our backups, but then also what services we back up. So yes, cloud is central every way, every day.
Absolutely. And I like the fact that you bring up services and storage. You can see here on the slide, those are some of the top two, a couple of the top two things we're really looking into. When we talk about new services, we've already been able to provide fantastic protection and recovery for Amazon Web Service, for Microsoft Azure. We're doing even more now by expanding that native footprint to take care of things such as Amazon's Elastic File Systems or even native Azure SQL databases. You talked about the storage. Again, this is where your data protection company, your backup vendor like Veeam, has to truly adopt those long-term archival or those, just doesn't cost a lot, costs just a little to keep it for a long time. And that's what we're talking about with things like Amazon S3 Glacier and Deep Archive and Azure Blob Archive, and now Google Cloud Archive. We, through teaming up with cloud vendors, can help to cut storage costs by as much as 50%. And Rick, you also mentioned ransomware. Security control, that really doesn't stop on premises. You need to ensure that your data is protected either or from where it begins on premises across the wire, and then ultimately where it lives in the cloud. If it lives natively in the cloud, it needs to be protected across its entire life cycle. And that's why expanding our security beyond just immutability and role-based access control to get into things like Amazon Key Management Services and Azure Key Vault. And then finally, one of the big things that really makes us proud here at Veeam is that single Veeam platform with unlimited options. So all of these different things we've talked about, all broker underneath Veeam backup and replication. And even if you are just a native cloud backup unit, like you're using Veeam Backup for AWS or Veeam Backup for Microsoft Azure, all of these things do feed back into Veeam Backup and replication to really centralize your entire data protection platform.
A lot of words, Billy, but
It was,
it,
but
it's a lot, and it
like
even
you
hits
said,
new
there's a
stuff,
lot coming
existing
for
stuff. I
cloud.
love it. I love it.
Yeah, there's a lot coming for cloud. And Rick, one thing I didn't add, I know I used a lot of words, but I think if you look back at the past few years and past few releases from Veeam, it's not as much, crawl, walk, run. We're really starting to get from crawl to run now. We're getting a lot faster as far as how we get things to market with specifically with cloud and getting a lot faster at adopting those native advanced capabilities that you need for the cloud. So, Rick, let's change gears. Let's talk about some native advanced capabilities. One of the hottest things that's coming on the market right there with cloud is containerization. And Kubernetes, by and large, really owns the lion's share of this market, of the Kubernetes market. And Veeam was proud to have Kasten and the Kasten team join Veeam as a new offering to go out and protect these containers, specifically Kubernetes. So everybody should know by now that we have casting K10 out there from Veeam. And what we can do with V11A is to provide the connection, or that cohesive glue, if you will, and that integration to ensure that those casting K10 backups can then easily send their backups over to Veeam Backup and Replication V11A repositories, where they can be stored, it can be managed, it can be have security applied to it, all the way from cradle to grave, if you will. So Rick, this is a new thing for Veeam, not a new thing for Kasten, right? That's why we team up with the best on this. How are you seeing Kubernetes, or I should say containers, specifically Kubernetes adoption, and the customers that you're speaking with throughout the past year?
Well, it's another type of application, right? Kubernetes is definitely forward vision for sure. I like to tell a lot of customers and the partners around the world that when you're ready for Kubernetes apps, Veeam is there. You know, having the Casting K10 product in the portfolio for sure has made a huge uh, impact in our different areas that we back up across any of the cloud native app platforms, whether it's on-prem with like Rancher or Tanzu, or in the cloud with AKS, EKS, or GKE. But now having this opportunity to put these backups under quote unquote under management by Veeam, or having it Veeam cast and ready, this is a big kind of single pane of glass for the storage, centralized management, those types of things, big vision points. And in fact, I just spoke with one of the product managers today about this, and there will be more. This is a good first step.
Fantastic.
But
So
but
yeah,
there's more other new stuff too. It doesn't
there
stop in
is.
Kubernetes world.
It does not stop, right? That's our first integration. The first thing that we've done since, like you said, adding casting K10 to the portfolio, and we're looking to expand even more. I mentioned innovate and iterate, and that is one of the core values here at Veeam, and you see that release after release. One of the things we're really excited about for V11A is that we've now opened up a publicly supported beta, so you can go ahead and test Red Hat virtualization backup. So if you are someone that's out there that is really a Red Hat shop, you are standardizing on Red Hat virtualization for your virtualization platform, we're now offering that beta. Again, this is supported, so you can try it with the confidence that you'll be able to get support, you'll be able to get help, you can get questions answered on it, and ensure that you have the best experience out there. And at the same time, provide key course information back to Veeam so we can make this product the best it can possibly be for you and to meet your needs. Some of the things yeah, Rick, do you want to add something to that?
Oh, no, sorry, I was just getting excited because
Oh,
the customers are going to like this. This is a new release vehicle of sorts, like a public beta that is supported and is free. See, marketing's not allowed to say that for the
no,
audience.
you can
This
though.
is a free beta for now. So the fourth hypervisor is in that public beta with support and free. I don't know if there's anything cooler than that out there, Billy.
Yeah. Free wins, Rick. I think that's a great addition there. And again, it's a lot of companies have betas, but Veeam, I think one of the things we pride ourselves on is customer feedback and taking that directly into the development process. So if this is something you guys are excited about and want to try out, understand that we do natively integrate with things like Red Hat Virtualization's Overt. So they're using Overt as their management platform. We directly integrate with that to ensure that VM snapshots or backups, again, just like the Kubernetes bits, they can be stored on that Veeam storage repository to really achieve that complete end-to-end backup lifecycle management. And that's something important because you've got to keep your data for much longer than ever before. So Rick, again, some of the exciting things coming down the pipe that we're talking about. Let's take a look at some of the things we've already been doing and how we're just expanding upon that. So one of them would be the latest support for Windows, IBM AIX, and Oracle Solaris. So when we talk about Windows, I think everybody has seen it either in the news or through your Windows update, even on your client OS, that we've got some new flavors of Windows out there. We've got Windows 10 version 21H1, and we've got Windows Server 2022, both fully supported by Veeam Backup and Replication V11A. In addition, we've already provided support for IBM AIX and Oracle Solaris. In our new 3.0 version of these agents, we're adding support for the catch-all protection group. And really this helps you, and this kind of completes that circle, Rick, of all the different things that we can add to this group. And I think this is beneficial, and you will as well, in the sense that this helps you to avoid data loss scenarios. And data loss scenarios are something that no one can stand these days. So being able to say, I've seen a new asset pop up, I can automatically apply protection to that, really helps you to sleep at night because you know there aren't assets out there being unprotected. Rick, have you adopted the latest version of Windows? Have you checked out Windows Server 2022? Have you done any testing around this yet?
I think I've done 21H1. Have not gone to Server 2022. I mean, I do maintain a Hyper-V lab, and actually that's an important point. When we say Windows support, that's a full support. That means you can install V11A on it. You could have Veeam components on it. You can back it up, and you could use the Hyper-V platform with Server 2022. So that's more than what it may look like, and that's actually an important point. And then with the Unix agents, those are important because that journey we've been on, Billy, it was always, okay, what about enterprise apps? Well, then we added plugins. What about centralized management? And well, then we added that right here. What about going to different repository types? And we've done that. So that's been a great progression in that space because honestly, if you have AIX and Solaris, it's probably important.
I think that's well said, Rick. And I think we're going to touch on that even a little bit more when we get down to Veeam 1. So great commentary. Let's keep trucking on with that innovate and iterate. So here is again where we've innovated, we're now iterating on it, and that's continuous data protection. So we first released Veeam CDP with V11, and now we're enhancing it already in V11A. We're allowing you to, we've enhanced both vSAN and vVol support to allow for even larger transaction logs out there to remove any of the limitations that were left. And we've also really taken a hard look at how to improve the performance and optimize memory consumption across both the source and the target proxy servers when we're doing that initial synchronization. So optimizing that memory, reducing that CPU load, gets you up to a level of continuous data protection for any of your tier one VMware workloads faster than ever, with even stronger support for those larger logs. Rick, CDP, this has been something that was a big cornerstone of the V11 release. How do these changes, how do you think they're really going to be taken down to the street, right, and applied? How do you see that?
Well, when we did the launch of this release, I wrote a blog, and actually the first thing I did was ask a bunch of the Veeam Vanguards and the Veeam Legends, hey, what's your favorite V11 feature? Because it's been out in market for a bit, and I wanted to get these expert users and partners and such with their point of view. And continuous data protection was a really common theme. So Billy, we don't really track capabilities this way, but I would actually say for the market, this is Veeam CDP version 2. because it's been iterated since that base V11 release and just got
Hmm.
some updates from product management. There's some more interesting, amazing stuff coming for CDP, right? That might be the version 3. So if you have these tier 1 workloads with, needing these really tight recovery point objectives balanced with that really tight recovery time objective, remember you're getting both benefits there, coupled with it's included with the universal license. So it's here, I'm saying it again, Billy, no additional Veeam cost for this one
No
either.
additional cost, Rick.
Yep, there we go. I'm breaking the rules. See, I like that. I'm allowed to say free and you're not, but
That's
it's good
correct.
stuff.
And that's what makes it fun. So as we continue to talk about more value that you get from Veeam Universal License, yet another iteration for us is instant recovery to Nutanix AHV. I love to talk about instant recovery. I think it's one of the most important things that Veeam provides and Veeam differentiates on because that's really what you need when times are tough and you need to get that recovery done. And now we're extending that even out to Nutanix AHV. So we've already, I mean, if you guys think back to what we were doing in 11 and right before that, we're now allowing any recovery or any Veeam backup can now be recovered to to VMware. Any Veeam backup can be recovered to Hyper-V, and now any Veeam backup can be instantly recovered to a Nutanix AHV VM. It's really nice because you can gain that instant recovery of any workload regardless where it came from, cloud, virtual, or physical. I do want to call out this does require the latest Nutanix or at least 6.0 and later to use some of the things within that framework. But Rick, again, this is iteration of that instant recovery, which to me is one of the most important differentiators that Veeam offers.
Yeah, I'd go so far, Billy, as to call it basically a namesake Veeam capability. And I actually think from a product strategy standpoint, it's really important to bring this to the third hypervisor. So Red Hat is that fourth hypervisor. And when I look at this, you could have said for a long time, well, I have Hyper-V and VMware with all of these other capabilities, but Nutanix doesn't have it. So that's a big step in this direction because architecturally the Nutanix internally, sometimes we call it the Nutanix proxy or the Nutanix plugin, but it's the third and fourth hypervisor. It's architecturally different than how we do VMware and Hyper-V. So to bring that capability here was a big benefit. So the only thing I'll highlight is that it doesn't include Sure Backup, but that doesn't mean it will not forever. I'll just leave it at that. But this is definitely a big deal for that Nutanix community, and that builds off a number of other Nutanix capabilities in play.
Absolutely. So, Rick, we've talked about VBR or Veeam Backup and Replication. We've talked about the newest things coming here. Anything else we want to go into before we dive into Veeam 1?
Well, I will highlight that in the subsequent, in the last slide, I guess, um, I have some links. So if you're using Veeam Backup and Replication, I've got some good links for you. So you want to stay tuned there and keep those questions coming in. Myself and Billy and some of the other staff are going to help us get you nice replies. But no, just so you have some links on how to get started. And then also, I guess I can say it here, but at Veeam On Update, we added a
Mhm.
new on-demand session of how to upgrade to V11A. So I took my home lab. I got a little bit of everything. I've got a Mac agent, got a Linux agent. I've got many Windows agents. I've got VMware backups. I've got NAS, and I did an upgrade to V11A. So you can see exactly how that process goes. It's very straightforward, but sometimes it's nice just to see it work. So you'll
Yeah.
see.
So you're really taking some of that upgrade center, and bringing it to real life with some of those on-demand sessions. I love it, Rick. And if you guys have not checked out Rick Vanover's upgrade session, you can see that it's a blog we've got out on Veeam.com. It's in a lot of our newsletters. So just check that out again. Rick Vanover on the blog, and that is the upgrade center there. So
Yep,
Rick,
got a
let's.
link to that too.
Oh,
There's,
perfect, perfect.
but there is one more thing.
There is
Uh-huh.
one more. There's always one more.
There's one
And
more
let's talk
thing,
about that
V1.
now.
Yeah, so
V1,
V1.
V11.
Yeah.
Do you want to get into
So
it first?
I do. And
Perfect.
just this looks familiar, doesn't it, Billy? So This list of categories of capabilities aligns very nicely to Veeam backup and replication, having that monitoring for GCP backups, um, the new monitoring for the hardened repository, which is that ransomware bit that I highlighted, more reporting capabilities in general, but also for those Unix agents, as well as some of the CDP policies that'll be built out. So when you look at this backup set of capabilities, it's very much natural and expected that you're going to see Veeam 1 come in with these monitoring, reporting, and alerting capabilities that help close the loop when you deploy these backup solutions. So GCP, really important if you're using that cloud. Veeam has a lot of customers around the world. They use a lot of different clouds, and they don't always have to start with the letter A. So GCP, for example, if you're using that cloud, we've always, I shouldn't say always, but with base V11, we've had the ability to put backups into that object storage. And then since then, Veeam Backup for Google Cloud Platform has been in market. Now, analytics, monitoring, and reporting of Veeam Backup for GCP policies in place. That is pretty cool. And that just went to version 2, and you'll see it's natural to expect then that the subsequent versions will bring more services and more centralized management capabilities, which is what we've done with the other products. Now, okay, my favorite thing. One of the things that I do on the Veeam product strategy team is help work with Chris Hoff, for example, on our product marketing team and some of the other architects and best practices and the support teams. We want to do everything we can to get ransomware resiliency best practices in the market. We just published a great new paper, but it also comes into the product and we'll implement capabilities. Veeam 1 is going to help us out here too. The base V11 introduced that immutable hardened repository, which is a great way to put backups on yet another immutable target. This one's on Linux. Guess what? No additional Veeam cost. Any Linux system, you can put immutable Veeam backups in play. And I like to tell people to go ahead and also use the cloud. So we can currently go to the public AWS, as well as a number of S3 compatible object storages. So the thought is you can have what I call double play immutability, but the latest Veeam 1 capability will give you some visibility to any changes of the immutability lifecycle, and that way you can really know that your immutable data is kept really safe.
And
And
Rick,
so
one
that's
thing
actually,
on
yeah,
that,
go ahead. Yeah, go
if
ahead.
I may, if you can go back real quick, I like how you mentioned the, being able to see changes to immutability. So it has that reactive factor, right? You can react quickly to things. I also love the fact that you can now kind of show this end to end. We were talking about, backup lifecycle management, ensuring things are immutable for the whole time. And a lot of times you need to prove this compliance or show it to someone else. So it can function in a very proactive mode as well.
Indeed, and that's actually the kind of the nature of the quick demo I wanted to show in here, alarming on some immutability changes, and then also what to do with those alarms. So those two things I want to show you. I want to alarm you when there's a change to the immutability and give you a notification of that. So what we're looking at here is Veeam 1 V11A, and over in the top left there, I have an immutable scale out backup repository. So let me zoom in here and show you this. So in this immutable scale out backup repository, I have a couple of extents, two of them. One is on premises running the hardened Linux repository. And the second is the hyperscale public cloud in the public AWS S3 with immutability. And if there's ever a change in that immutability configuration, we're going to put an alarm in the console right here. So it used to be 14 days of immutability. Now it says there's only 7. That's a big problem. So this alarm is going to catch those types of activities. And so let's take a look at what we can do with this information. If you're using Veeam 1, I absolutely recommend this and the other ransomware and immutability state alarms get this special treatment right here. Let's set up a notification. Just at a minimum, let's put in potentially, put your email address in. Heck, you can send me about it. I'll let you know. But basically, that's my email address, and I want to know when that happens. Same thing if I wanted to also put in some of the existing Veeam One capabilities of having, remediation actions and things like that. So that demo is really straightforward, really simple, right to the point, but it is really important when it comes to being able to handle and process and do something with oh, I like this, Billy. I got a phrase. You ready?
Uh-oh.
The, the alarms that matter. Bum bum.
The
I think
That's
I
pretty
like it.
good because I mean, how many of you look at just thousands and thousands of informational alarms? Heck, developers even sometimes refer them as informational errors, right? It gets confusing, it gets messy. So, Rick, I like
Mhm.
that. The alarms that matter. That's a
All
new
right.
t-shirt for you, I think.
Um, you know what I'm going to do for the audience? I'll put this up on the Veeam site, but basically I'm going to make a top 11 things you must configure in Veeam 1. Like, so that particular thing I just did right there, we need to
Yep,
know about that. But let's
absolutely.
add 10 more to it. So there we go. I voluntold myself for more homework. But
Love it.
Veeam1 can help us in a couple other areas as well. So the Unix agents, again, centralized management of those backups, really, really important. There's new alarms and reporting that monitor those backups. So it's not just that Veeam backup and replication is getting the backup agent installed with the protection group, driving recoveries, providing the backup storage, but you got to have that management, the protected computers report, that type of stuff that can give you that type of visibility. And the reporting from Veeam One, I like to say with Veeam One that I guarantee you it'll tell you something about your environment that you didn't know, but you have to address. And when I say your environment, I'm referring to your virtualization stack or your Veeam backup and replication infrastructure. And some of the newest reporting aligns well right there. So three key things. One, at a glance views about the capacity and the infrastructure for future growth. I love doing my catch of the day where I show the backups on disk and how many days left I have and all that kind of good stuff. But also having your SLAs aligned to your scale, having the reporting on that, very, very powerful. And then lastly, having the ability to get that data out of Veeam One. I've spoken to users for years, Billy, where they want more capabilities out of that Veeam One API, and we made a big step right there. Okay, so a lot of info, moving at Veeam speed, but there's really three things I think that can really be your call to action. So Billy, why don't you tell us a little bit about if somebody's new to Veeam, how do they get started with a trial?
Yeah, if you're new to Veeam, you can go to veeam.com as you see on the screen, and just about any page, you will see the ability to download trials and check things out. So some of the stuff we do there is really, right on the front page, follows you around, easy to see. In addition, specific to Veeam backup and replication V11A, if you want to see a little more greater detail of some of the things we talked about, we have KB Article 4215. Same thing for V11A, we have KB Article 4197. And of course, if you just want to see the latest and greatest, always remember your go.veeam.com/V11, and that will get you there and get you some of this information as well. Regardless of what you click on and where you go, if you want to try this out, it's easy to find. And again, you've always got that opportunity to click and download the trial.
You know what the big takeaway here is, Billy?
That we love KB articles, Rick.
No, that Veeam 1 was done earlier because the number is lower. I'm telling you,
And that
that's how it
that is
works.
true. That is true. So I think the team will celebrate that when they hear this, when they hear this live. So
Yeah.
absolutely.
All right. Well, hey, Billy, if you guys listening and ladies haven't noticed, Billy and I go loose and fresh, and there's a lot going on. But tell us what else is going on here, Billy.
Yeah, well, we're hard at work. I've said innovate and iterate many, many times throughout this webcast, and that's something that's important, and we take that very seriously. Again, that is one of our core values. So you see this all across the board. You see a ton of iteration here. We're up to V11A, our second release of the V11 code for Veeam backup and replication. That goes for Veeam Availability Suite, which we didn't mention. If you're new to Veeam, Veeam Availability Suite is the combination of Veeam backup and replication with Veeam One. So when we say Veeam Availability Suite, Veeam Backup and Replication V11A, we also mean Veeam 1 V11A. Again, specifically to native cloud, we've got Veeam Backup for AWS, Azure, Google Cloud. Look at how these things, I told you earlier, we're going from crawl to run now, and you can really see that with how fast we're getting at updating these releases, adding more value to them. And then finally, some of the new things still coming down would be Veeam DR Orchestrator V5, as well as Kasten K10 by Veeam 4.5. And pretty soon Kasten will have that latest plugin ready to actually do that integration with VBR. VBR is cast and ready. We're ready to go. And we're really ready to deliver any cloud your way. As you can see throughout this presentation, we're here to protect you and provide recovery, whether you're private, public, hybrid, multi, or even as a service with our army of service providers. So there's a lot of good things here at Veeam, whether it's product, whether it's functionality, or whether it's just the army of internal Veemers, partners, service providers ready to help you out. This is a place that you can safely go and make those good bets.
Yeah, good points, Billy. And the platform, right? The platform is real and it's just been updated. So yeah, Billy and I, we go fresh and light. And we want to kind of move through these topics swiftly. But Billy, hey, it's always a pleasure presenting with you.
Pleasure was mine, Rick, and thank you everyone for the time. Hopefully we've answered all your questions. If not, we're still hard at it. So give us just a couple of moments. We'll get all this taken care of. And thanks again for making Veeam your choice. You guys have a great afternoon.
Yeah, thank you indeed. And that concludes today's webinar.